All right, welcome back to Dead Wax. We're going to jump right in with Torture Me by Phantom Planet. Here we go.
I sat down for hours onto a lonely chair. My face in my hands felt like my head was coming open.
God damn, that song is insane. That payoff at the end is one of the most satisfying explosions.
So good.
It feels incredible. That distortion sound is insane.
There's sounds there. I don't even remember how we got some of those sounds.
How long ago did you guys record this?
This was in 2019. And in 3 different sessions, which is probably why we can't remember exactly what we were putting on there.
Mm-hmm.
We recorded at Sound City with Tony Berg as the producer, and he was giving us the Tony Berg friends and family deal. And so we could only have certain amounts of time between when he had like actual sessions, because we were just kind of sneaking in there. We've worked with Tony for so long, and we've known him for, gosh, I'd say almost like 30 years, close to.
Amazing.
Like I met him when I was 15, so that's almost like.
So you met Tony about the same time you guys met each other.
Yeah, maybe a little after,
Maybe
like a year after.
Yeah, he was just sort of like a musical father figure for a lot of people, you know.
Yeah.
By the way, this is Alex Greenwald.
Oh yeah,
founding member of Phantom Planet, singer, songwriter, producer, musician, melody writer extraordinaire. You also play with Mark Ronson. You're in the Business International. Yeah. And you want to introduce our other guest?
Sam Farrar, bassist extraordinaire, founding member of Phantom Planet, also bassist in Maroon 5, recorded with Hanson, Sarah Bareilles, Band of Horses, Mandy Moore, and others.
Yeah. Wow.
Welcome, guys. Guys, can we get into that distortion sound? Do you remember what that is? Listen to this. Listen to this outro. Listen to this. So there's like this resonance, there's like a filtered resonance that seems to be climbing. And then it sounds like a snarling animal or something. It's so monstrous.
There is, so in just listening back to it, I know that I recorded a soft synth with some in-computer plug-in distortion, but that's not what's doing the resonant thing. The resonant thing.
Do you know what the resonant thing is?
So Darren and I, the other guitar player, there was a day when we were just like, there were parts that he knew he wanted to play, and then just experimental day for like, what do you want to do stuff. So that's where you get some of his like parts having a bit of the electroharmonics, the mellotron pedal, whatever that one's called. Maybe or something.
Yeah.
Wait, which electroharmonics
I think
pedal?
it's called the M9. Does that sound right?
There's an electroharmonics
M9,
pedal
yeah.
it has like maybe 6 different mellotron sounds.
So I have that one. I love that one.
Yeah, it's cool. But we were messing around with, I think we had 2 digital, one analog delay, 1 digital delay on his stuff too. And when he was playing his parts, I was messing around with it, like the whole song. So it was kind of, we were both playing his guitar.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That's when all that
both playing his effects.
I remember that.
And I have a feeling there is probably one track at least where things are going up on one of the delays. That's probably what we're hearing.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's distortion on 2 or 3 things happening, and then the track is kind of pumping as well.
Sidechain to hell or something. I don't know.
And then
it sounds like there's a compressor on the whole thing that like every time the kick hits or something, it's just kind of crunching everything. So it just sounds like this torturous blob.
And then I remember at the end of it, I added another extra crash cymbal just because of
on the downbeat for the big ending. Yeah, right.
Which sounds insane.
Just like let's see how crazy we can get.
Can we listen to that crash? Let's listen to the crash.
It's kind of on the right.
Yeah.
And you know what I got to say about those drums too is the kick and the snare are so clean still and pushing through the mix so well at those, like at, wherever that is, 60 hertz. And then the snare sounds like maybe it's at like 140 or something. It's cutting so hard at those frequencies that it sounds like it's having that effect on the cymbal too.
One of the, Will McClellan, who engineered and mixed this album is such a genius and such a bro. He's like one of my favorite people ever. Such a great person to hang out with. He's got a bunch of tricks, and I think probably Tony's experience through the lens of Will McClellan is why like that ending sounds as big as it does without being harsh on the ear. Do you
Totally.
know? Even though that all those instruments are being harsh.
Yeah.
But
Right.
whatever he's running them through and whatever EQ and compression and whatever sidechain probably to get those kick and snare things out.
Right.
It's
Again,
insane.
I don't know.
I know he likes that Soothe plugin a lot. They were using that a bit, but
Oh,
But-
that's the plugin that like takes out like notchy frequencies?
yeah, it's like a
and stuff?
reverse.
That's right.
Sort of like a multi-band DS, or I guess you would call it that.
The tension harmonically that's happening in the outro is contributing to the feeling of like resolution, but kind of not resolution, but also fuck yeah.
Yeah.
It's the sort of pedally, right? Everything's over this, and then
Yeah.
Does that Lydian
but
thing?
there's like 5 happening over the 1, and then it resolves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you
Which-
could even say it's like a suspended chord with the major third.
Like a major 7
major seventh. Yeah.
with
that
a
thing.
suspension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is so beautiful, and the melody throughout the song echoes that tension, right? There's all these little half steps in the melody where you're coming down on the flat 5, then coming up on the major 7,
Yeah.
and then it goes up a half step.
Da, 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 da.
Yes, it's just the melody's constantly dancing
Yeah.
around the release note with half steps. It's just beautifully
Yeah.
written.
So length of sections I also found to be masterful in this song. Oftentimes a new section would start when I was expecting the previous section to repeat or to go longer. Just like your choice of which bars to elongate and where to start new sections. Do you know, can we just talk about like the form
Yeah.
of the song? Can you map out the form for us?
Let's start at the very, very beginning.
Yeah.
So when I first started composing this song, it was 2005.
Oh
I
my
didn't
God.
finish it until 2019. I revisited it, but I guess this was using GarageBand for me. I was using Reason, and I
Wow,
wanted to
right.
see.
I love Reason.
I wanted to see how much melody I could fit out of one note happening the whole time, like pedal point kind of music theory style of, giving weight to the melody pulling away from where the tonic or where that root note is
Yeah.
playing to get back to it, and what that was doing to how you felt about the melody. And
So in other words, you're saying like this synth like pulse at the beginning
Yeah.
on the 1.
so imagine like a Reason synth in the beginning that sounded probably like total shit, just going
Or amazing.
Bum, 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 bum,
Yeah.
bum, bum.
It
And
might
you
have,
wanted
the
to,
original one might have been like crazy.
And so
but that's
pedal,
too much
pedal
tension
point
me.
for the kids at home is define pedal point for us, Alex.
It is a monotonic. Oh, you stick to one note and you move the melody either harmoniously or disharmoniously over it, so that there's always that bass. I might have been influenced, at least somewhere philosophically, by Chariots of Fire.
yeah,
Dun,
totally.
dun, dun, dun,
Totally.
dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun. There's something that does that. Like, you'll always have home, but go on an adventure. But
Yes.
you'll always have a welcome.
Because you're grounded by the bass notes staying the same, and the chords, you can have that same chord over it, or you could put different chords.
Exactly. Yeah.
You've used that a lot. It's like it was in California. Like it's
Oh yeah.
it's like
right,
a
the chorus of California.
I mean, it's
It's a
a
good form.
common technique, right? It's like something,
Device.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a common device, but it's so effectively used here. I think the challenge that that just made the whole song make sense for me. The challenge that you just gave yourself while writing this, which is like, do the pedal point, which is like everybody does that. Everybody does pedal points. But then your challenge was extend the melody and the chords beyond where it would go with the pedal point to kind of stretch the limits of how a pedal point can be used.
Yeah.
And I think that's what gives this song so much tension.
Yeah.
Is like the way, the distance you go between the notes you're singing and the continuous pedal point.
yeah.
I wonder too, as an experiment, because I feel like revisiting this is already 17 years old of a memory, but I think even like and I think that going off to school is good for you. No, 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 'cause I'm stuck on something. I can't even do
The
the
next
melody
one would be a little bit tricky.
Mighty couldn't do
no, it
you wanna torture me? The agony, the suffering, and supposed to be.
All right, whole time.
Okay, can we? That is I can't believe you just did that. By the way,
I wish I sang the beginning right, but you got the idea.
Yeah.
So the other thing I noticed about that chorus melody, which is just so beautiful, is it starts down here and it goes up and down and up and down. And then it kind of goes up again, up and down and up here. And then it goes way up and down, but it's climbing the whole time. Like the rough shape of the chorus melody is this like panic attack that just seems to be getting higher and higher.
Panic attack is a good choice of words, I think.
It kind of feels like that as you're listening to it. It feels like the panic attack is like getting more and more deep, it feels like it's setting in more.
So can we just to structure us a little bit? Can we talk about form, and then can you walk us through how you wrote it, where you started, and how you kind of arrived at this the form and all that?
Yeah. So
Can I interject one
Please.
thing?
Yeah.
I've been cleaning up. I found an old box of Phantom Planet stuff in like the last month or so, and I've gone through the painstaking process of burning all these like CDs into archiving a lot of stuff. I can't tell you how many versions of Torture Me there are. that I
Really?
found.
Really?
Like, oh my God! If I wish I'd known that we were talking about this,
like
because
3 or more.
at least 11 probably.
Whoa.
Do you guys do that a lot? Do you like write multiple versions and write and record
Well,
multiple versions of the same
I
song?
This song in
definitely do
particular,
when I
yeah.
demo stuff out, but usually by the time the band and everybody's like put stuff on it, it sounds great, but sometimes it just doesn't work out.
Now a lot of these are like live versions in studios or
Yeah.
rehearsal spaces and stuff. But like I remember
still
very
trying
clearly
out
like
what-
versions are very
Yeah.
different from each other. And like we recorded
Different
it once.
lyrics, different how?
No, the lyrics usually actually
I
even the
think the
form's pretty
lyrics-
much the same on all of them, which is kind of crazy. if you
Lyrics
think
did
about
change once it got to the Tony Berg Devastator 2019 version, verse-wise. But the chorus, I think, always stayed the same.
it. Yeah,
That sounds
there's
right.
much more. I think where we ended up is the most dynamic version of it. Like
Yeah.
there's definitely versions where it's just like kind of bashing the whole time.
Yeah. So
And
the
you know what I
arrangement
mean?
is mostly what
But-
changed.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what I was trying to get across was what it feels like to be lonely, wanting to do something about it and not knowing what to do about it, and all the emotions that you feel when that happens, like feeling trapped, even though you know there's some part of you that could get you out of it, but you can't tap into it, something like that. So, I mean, obviously there's an intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus to me, which then goes twice. I guess there's no bridge or anything, and it ends on a double chorus.
And here's the verse.
I sat down for hours onto a
And here's the same thing again.
thinking of new forms of
So that's the second verse. And do you consider this the
I
pre-chorus?
guess I'm considering both iterations of that to be the first verse.
First verse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And then is this the pre-chorus?
and I think
Yeah.
they're going off to school
Okay. And then this is the chorus here.
'cause I'm stuck
Yeah.
on something.
By the way, when that happens, there's just beautiful ambience that just opens
Yeah.
the whole track up behind. I don't know what that is, but it's this wonderful choral sort of
Production
echoey-
is so good.
It's so good.
I found I didn't find it. I had to replay it, but I had in the Reason version from 2005. I really liked. I did sort of this string arrangement that sort of started in the center and sort of moved into this zone. I think that's sort of what you're talking about because I did it in, gosh, it's either GarageBand or Logic. I don't remember, but a string section using samples that has been highly messed with, so it doesn't sound like MIDI strings
Right.
completely.
Right. Totally.
But I liked how, in an orchestral way, that kind of fit with how, because like that kind of melody is not usually what the Phantom Planet band like writes. We're kind of usually a little more Oasis-y. I don't even know if that's like the right
yeah.
way to put it. This one's just seemed more like it needed to be balanced out with more orchestral arrangement.
Yeah.
Can we? I want to listen to that strings or whatever it is because it's so effective to like delineate sections between the pre-chorus and the chorus. Not only does it delineate sections, it like ups the ante on the whole thing because we go from this very close sounding, like no reverb, everything is like right here, your vocals are right there, and then suddenly we're in like a cathedral, and it happens like that, and it just changed. It's like a fresh piece of variety that feels so nice. Let's listen to that. Close.
'cause I'm stuck on something mighty.
Like I literally feel like I'm walking into a church and like looking, and suddenly the ceilings are huge.
Did you actually play Mellotron? Is there like a Mellotron in there? I can hear something in the back now.
That's the
Is that the
MIDI
guitar?
strings that we messed with.
Okay.
Are they pitch
rolled a
shifted
lot of-
down? Is that what you did?
I don't think so. I think like I was really fond of the viola sample that just comes with Logic. We rolled like a bunch of treble off. We probably ran it through like
a bunch of verb and stuff.
Yeah.
When you guys are doing that in the studio, do you record it first and then play around with sounds and stuff? Are you in the studio? Are you playing around with sounds in the box on the machine? Are you pulling out pedals? When do you actually, a lot of people just like track first and then do sounds later. Like how do you approach sound design in the studio?
I don't, not to speak for you, but Tony definitely is the type of producing leader that would be like, this sound would be great to try. It's not like, oh, try this guitar part. It's always like, this guitar with this amp with this pedal would work great. And he's very specific like that. At least for me, you probably think of these things for yourself, but like he was very good at being like, this bass will work really well with this thing, and then therefore you play it and you play it differently. You know what I mean, so that was my experience with it. But I don't know about you. But
I think that's a good way of describing Tony's whole thing. He is an amazing producer, but he's been doing it for so long that I think he knows kind of the ways of enhancing a performer, player, writer without saying like, change this shit.
Yeah.
Or like taking the person out of, being self-conscious or whatever. He just removes that with like, dude, check it out. Fucking sick this bass is, dude. You just have to play it, And
So will you guys all track together?
Yeah.
So that's how you
we
start.
did 1 week straight of basics.
Yeah, basic tracks.
Right. And I think most of the drums and the bass and some of the guitars were probably done in that first week.
How does that work for a song like this, though, where there's so many electronics and it's clearly like the dong 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 sounds quantized?
Did we just
it
track
sounds
to
like
a loop?
Is it a sequence? It sounds.
We didn't quantize.
Is somebody playing that on a keyboard?
That's Sam playing the bass, right? Or is there? It might be. There is
No,
a keyboard.
there is a keyboard, but I think I played
okay,
to
so
it.
that yeah.
That sounds like a sequence.
Did I play to
quantized.
that?
That is
Okay.
what?
Did I play to that?
Yeah. Because I knew we wouldn't have that much time to be able to do like a lot of rehearsals before going into the studio. And then when we were in the studio, not having that much time to record. So I loosely, skeletally blueprinted stuff at home. Like, let's say it's enhanced click.
Mm-hmm.
For
It's more
us
fun to play
for
to,
us to
that's for
play
sure,
to.
but-
Oh,
Yeah. So like
what
there's a little
great
bit
idea.
more of an idea of how to get bigger, smaller. There's some little light helping hand underneath the whole time.
Yeah.
So you track to like some like, are there drum samples along to there's a click,
Yeah.
and then there's some sampley things, and then maybe like a synth, and you guys as a band will play to
on
that.
top of that.
Yeah. So
And keep in mind, this is a song that we'd played a lot.
Yeah,
This is
and
from 2005. So I would say that we knew it really well too. That's the other thing.
And we played it a bunch 2005 to 2008, and then we did not play it for
That's
another
true.
11 years.
Why did it go away? Why didn't you record it?
We tried with Tony for our record before Devastator, Raise the Dead, and we just could not find its.
Yeah, I don't know what. I remember at one
It's
point we all tried playing
magic.
drums on it because
Yeah.
we couldn't figure out. All of us took turns playing drums. None of us can play drums. By the way.
I mean, it sounds like one of those songs that is a code to crack as far as the production. And there's the bare bones skeletal thing that's happening, and then there's stuff laid on top throughout sections to make them grow and pop.
Yeah.
So I can see how that would be a journey to get to where you guys.
The other
got
interesting
to.
thing about it is like there's not really, at least to me, it doesn't sound like drums until like the last chorus,
Yeah.
really. I mean, there's the thing that's providing the rhythm in the song is that bass pulse, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom,
Yeah.
and then there's a shaker, right? Isn't there a shaker?
Yeah.
And
Shaker. And he's playing toms very lightly in certain
Yeah.
parts too. You can hear this every now and then, but very lightly.
oh, that's so nice. It honestly, what it sounds like to me is it's just adding a little organic texture to the bass pulse.
Yeah.
You know, it just feels like it makes the bass pulse feel more organic.
Yeah.
I think you bring up a good point too, because at least the synth was probably the synth bass pulsing
Mhm.
was what we played to.
Mhm.
Shaker, everything you hear is added on later, except for, to my memory, the bass and then the MIDI strings in the chorus.
Got it.
And I'm not even sure if we did I might have done the MIDI strings later at home after we did the basics.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember.
And are you singing while you're tracking?
Yeah.
Okay, so would you be playing and singing at the same time?
Yeah.
Or just singing?
Playing and
You're
singing.
playing guitar.
Yeah.
So there's 2 guitars happening at the same time, bass and drums.
yeah.
And that's
then,
it.
And the track that we were playing to.
But
Yeah.
but it sounds like there's so many more than 2 guitars. Did you overdub more guitars?
There's
you guys did a
probably-
couple of overdubs, sure, but I
I think
think
there's
you'd
only-
still play this as 2 guitars.
two
you know,
guitars.
if you
But
wanted to.
there might be a double track of Darren with the Mellotron one, and then me messing around with the delays.
Yeah.
Can we listen to some of those guitars? Because honestly, these guitar tones are so belly and beautiful.
Should I have
and
all these
just-
tracks at home. I should have.
I mean, listen to these tones.
We could have isolated them.
Thinking of new forms of torture. Listening to rain.
What is that guitar on the left? That sounds like a Barry or something.
So that's
Rain in blood.
it's either if Darren's on the right, that was me just playing an inversion on the lower with the fifth in the bass.
Here you go.
Interesting.
I think.
This kind of thing. Like,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful.
So probably I was doing.
yeah.
Oh, gorgeous. So you have the 5th coming in the bass there, which makes it feel lower.
Yeah.
Even though it's not a Barry, that's gorgeous. What a good technique. Let's listen to that again. Let's listen to that Barry or that low guitar coming in.
Thinking of new forms of torture.
And then the tone is so good too. Do you remember how you got that tone or what that was?
I was playing Tony Berg's, one of my favorite guitars that he has. It's an ES335 that it feels great, and it has those tones no matter what amp it's going through.
Mm-hmm.
And then I might have been playing through a white amp.
Yeah.
You know those little
Yeah,
tiny
he loves
ones that
that
are
thing.
impossible to find now?
Yeah.
Or probably were impossible to
I've
find.
just
when
found
we were-
one. I just found. I was looking for years, but that's the Tony Classic.
That is a
Yeah.
Tony Classic.
Yeah.
Did you use a projector amp at all? No. That was the other one that was like everyone's talking
I
about.
love
all the
that
time.
amp, yeah.
Blake got us into that.
I think we might have used the projector amp for some of the distorted guitar.
Mm.
Like Darren might be going through
Yeah.
the projector amp.
And Sam, what bass were you playing? Do you remember?
He has a great Hofner. I'm pretty sure it was
Okay.
that. He
Cool.
also has a Dan Electro I played a lot too.
Nice.
Old one.
I love
But that
one.
Hofner's got
I'm pretty sure it's the
magic
Hofner. I pretty
thing.
much played Hofner on almost in everything that Tony.
And are you playing other stuff in addition to bass on this one?
I don't think so. Not on this
And
one.
crash cymbal?
I did crash cymbal. I'll sing a little bit here and there, some backgrounds, but
What's some of the little colorful stuff? Just the little ear candy, like right before the second half of the verse here. Like
Thinking
what is
that?
that? Little like
So that's me messing with the delays and Darren doing weird shit on the top of his
Mm.
like head stuff.
plucking
then.
the okay. So yeah, because that
yeah, like that kind of shit.
and then you're like fucking delay and verb onto okay,
it's very sonic.
Because we had a really
beautiful.
cool.
like we had a really fun. It was a couple hours because he was like, "I know this is the part I want to play, but what sounds?" We found like a guitar sound that we all liked, and he's like, "But I don't know, like need something else." Like, okay, let's try this pedal. Let's try this pedal. Then we landed on the Mellotron thing.
Mm.
Oh, great, that fits with the MIDI strings and the chorus. But then once that was put on, he was like, "I don't know, are we done?" I was like, "I don't know. Like, should we fuck around with stuff now?"
yeah.
So then we did a bunch of passes with him playing sometimes his part, sometimes other stuff, while I was just trying to dub out or whatever the hell I was doing with the two delay pedals.
It's funny. Sometimes I feel like what I've been doing recently is recording before I get the part. Do you know what I mean? Like I used to like figure out the part first and then record and then execute the part exactly as I planned. And what I've started doing recently, like in the last 6 months, is hitting record before I've figured out the part. And then I end up getting things like that little belly thing that it's like you would have experimented with that and then not recorded it.
Mm-hmm.
But now you have it and it's part of the track and you can, play with it and have fun with it.
Being able to, at this point, like when a lot of us came up, it was like tape kind of. Maybe Pro Tools had just come out, but like it was expensive to rent and didn't record for very long or whatever. You did editing maybe for one song in it. Now that you have almost an infinite amount of space to record, why not just keep recording? Because it's those accidents that most musicians are praying for. Even we do have the part down. Like, I kind of hope I fuck up because there might, 90% might be trash, but that 10%.
The fuck ups
It's
are way more
incredible.
interesting.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I want to give credit quickly to Darren Chris, who that's where I heard this song the first time was Darren.
Yeah.
Darren covered this.
He just played it live, didn't
at
he?
one of
Like,
his
yeah.
shows, and he's been a fan of you guys forever. And he was telling me about. He said, you got to ask these guys about. You re-recorded one of your earlier albums so that you could own the masters.
Oh yeah.
You pulled a Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
So
California's already been done, but
yeah,
we
it's a labor of love, but it's taking longer than we thought. Just getting.
So this isn't done yet. You're still working on it.
It would be, let's
it's
say,
close.
it's so close.
you just
I
need
would
some
say
vocals,
it's
right?
like 80% done or something.
Oh, great.
It's just like figuring out schedules and like the logistics part.
Are you
Which
trying
is
to
like musicians aren't supposed to be.
So it's the album
doing
with
the
California on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the guest.
Are you trying to match tones, or are you just going for new sounds?
So specifically for California, which is probably, I mean, it's definitely our most recognized song.
We've been on the run, driving in the sun, looking out for number one. California, here we come.
I've always
Right
been
back where we
in the past, like when in my formative years, listening to when a band, for whatever reason, in the 60s re-recorded a song in the 80s, for example, like their sounds are all different. The reverbs have gone digital thin, whatever the 80s trends were. That took me out of listening to the re-record. So I couldn't get into the same feeling and same enjoyment that I had from listening to the original. So for California, I thought the recipe's fine. Everybody likes it the way it is. I might as well just try to match it exactly. Same. We really went into it. Same instruments. We recorded it in the same studio where it was originally recorded.
Where was that?
Sound
Factory.
Factory. This is what's so hard when you record at Sound City with Tony.
Was that in Hollywood?
We've also worked
Yeah.
at Sunset Sound, which is
I
not
know,
far.
it's
Yeah,
all just
there's a lot
messed
of-
up.
yeah.
Yes. So Sound
Factory.
So same instruments, same studio?
Yeah.
Wow.
On Selma in Hollywood,
Yeah.
between Ivar and Cahuenga.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
So you're really trying to get it to sound exactly like
Yeah.
the original.
At first, it was like, let's get it close, and then as you do it more and more, you realize that people don't want to hear something new.
Yeah.
They're really emotionally attached to these every little thing. You can hear every little
Totally.
the way your voice even sounded. So I feel like, didn't you even like try to sing
I
younger?
I rehearsed for 2 weeks singing like I
Used to.
with like a
Yeah.
thinner vocal
Yeah.
cords and like higher pitched voice.
Oh my god.
We all went back and listened to every fill that we played just to make sure that it felt as close to it as possible. And if you listen to it, they definitely sound a little different, but they're
And that one is that one out now?
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
That just came out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a month
I think
ago.
what's really interesting about that is, and I definitely remember this from like early Pamplemousse tracks. At the time when I was mixing those and recording those, I felt like I don't know what I'm doing yet. There's so
Sure.
much more I need to learn. I'm not a good producer yet. And so I did all these things that like a good producer would not have done. But actually that's what made those tracks sound characteristic and interesting and different and standing out in a crowd of other
Yeah.
tracks.
Mhm.
And now like I know a lot more about mixing and production, but it's not better. It's just like
Sure.
I know more things, and I've now hear other artists going back 10 years after they have made a track or whatever. They have more money, they have more resources, they know more people, and they make a track, and it's not better. Actually, Tame Impala just did this remix, his like 2022 mix of like a 2015 track. And I remember hearing it. It was definitely more clean. It was better mixed. It was more full. It had all the right changes, but in totality, it wasn't as good
wasn't as good.
as the original. I liked the smallness and the scrappiness of the original. It sounded more rough and human to me. I liked
The
it better.
limitations are kind of what makes it interesting. I think that's why you use GarageBand, or at least I know that's why you started with it, is because you
yeah.
liked that it was
Give me
minimal.
the limitations.
You know what I mean?
For
And
sure.
like that's important.
Better for, I think, in general, as it's like not just for musicians, but the less you think about your creative act while you're doing it, the better.
Yeah.
So did you apply that same concept to the rest of the record that you guys are re-recording?
Not to the specificity that we did. I mean, literally, California, the drums we went in, every bar is exactly the same as the original, with even how wide the hi-hat gets
How did you know that though? How did you?
So
Just listening? Okay.
just listening and listening back. Okay, this is what the drums did. So play it just like this for now. Okay, this is the second bar. This is how it happened. Like, this is the amount of pressure to put on the snare, the ghost note, or whatever.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and also, and once we did that, we had a stitched together version, and then at that point, it was memorized enough that it was replayed as a regular. Because things, if you record things just one bar at a time, it's going to sound like Frankenstein's got stitched up in weird zones. We originally recorded the drums. We used the binaural. Is it Neumann that does that? The binaural mic?
Chad Blake engineered it. So
The head thing.
The head.
Wow, Chad Blake engineered the original
Yes,
recording.
yeah.
Oh my God.
So also, Chad didn't engineer this new one, but Will, who we did Devastator with, who also is kind of like everybody who works in music to this capacity is kind of a music engineer nerd.
Yeah.
But like, we recreated the exact mic setup. Like, he knew what it would be.
How did he know? How'd you remember where all the mics were
So
and what they were?
he actually looked up what Chad Blake was using at the time, and then I remembered where the head was in the room and
Wow.
stuff from 20 years ago. Just because this is the first time I'd ever seen it looks like a human's mannequin head, but like disembodied.
Yeah.
And it was just right there. Like, here's I'm trying to do this for the audience like too. Kick drum here, where snare, hi-hat, so but the drummer's facing out.
Yeah.
The binaural was about 10 feet away, right in between. So the kick is down here, like right in between where the kids, everything's.
Yeah.
Cymbals.
Did Chad Blake mix it?
Yeah. The original. Yeah.
Wow.
But I think Jack Joseph Puig did a single mix. There's a couple. I think that's another
that
thing in the
single
box
mix-
I just found of like how many versions of California. I've found.
Crazy.
And I don't think
Insane.
any people have heard the Puig mix. Everybody's
Yeah,
heard like literally.
the
it
Chad
says-
Blake mix.
it
Oh, that's
says
right. Yeah,
Chad
sorry.
Blake
Chad Blake
mix
mix is
on
one
the
And
thing.
so
out.
why re-record it for the people at home?
Okay, so in the same vein, and we were inspired by Taylor Swift re-recording her entire
You
catalog.
were inspired by that.
Oh yeah,
Of course.
I mean,
Cool.
she's a very inspiring person. I mean, there's a reason why she's as popular worldwide as she is.
Total
she's an
badass.
inspiration to everybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
At one point, we wanted to re-release our album, The Guest, which is still the masters are owned by Sony Epic. They weren't being as open to the idea of allowing us to do that, which when it's
To
your,
buy them back?
not
Or
even
what were you trying
like
to...
re-release.
I don't know if we
Yeah,
even asked to buy them back because
You
I
just
think that
wanted
we
to
couldn't
re-release
afford it. We couldn't afford it.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Was it now this was like your first record.
second, but
Second record.
yeah.
Was the deal, like, looking back, was it like a bad deal for you guys somehow,
We
or
were so young at that point. I don't even know if we would have been aware of what a good deal.
Yeah.
I mean,
It was definitely not a bad one. It was a little better than the industry standard for that
Okay,
period
sure.
of time, which was like,
we weren't quite into like 360 type of deals
Yeah.
yet. Like that was later,
Mhm.
so it was not
Um,
like that. But
So they
Okay.
weren't taking your merch and your
No.
touring and all that stuff.
All right.
Okay.
and like we had a little extra on the back end than was normal.
So you went to
the
Sony?
standard thing.
you went to Sony and said, "Can we re-release this record?"
Yeah. And they weren't really that open to the idea.
Why
And
re-release it?
20th anniversary, I think, was coming
20th
up.
Okay,
anniversary.
okay.
We also like so many fans have been asking for a decade at least now for vinyl.
Okay.
And
Oh,
it's like-
that's where it started. It was to try
Got
to
Just like,
it,
can we
got it.
re-release it on vinyl? They're like,
And why didn't they want to?
that's the thing. You know,
Yeah.
like
I don't know.
one of the frustrations was, what point is it to flex the power that you own our master recordings?
Ah.
Like, why do that? Also, in that mode of thought, like, hey, you know what? We recorded them. We wrote the songs. Why isn't that ours at this
Yeah.
point? Like,
Yeah.
if they're not doing anything with it, they're just sitting on it, and the masters are in a vault, hopefully air conditioned. Who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
We just decided to take some of the power back into our own hands, and like,
Good for you guys.
yeah, and like, I feel like that's just self-care and like a self-respect to do that. You
And
know?
survival at this
Yeah.
point too. Like there's a half of like if you put that in a commercial, a good chunk of that's not going to you guys.
Yeah.
If some big label owns it, you know what I mean? So if you own that recording, they use that recording, that's 100% yours, you know, and there's just not that much money to be made right now in this business. So
Well, let this be a
anything we can do,
PSA
you know?
for the fans to listen to the new version
please listen to the new version.
of,
Listen to the new version.
California, and to come the new version
Yeah.
of The Guest.
And as a light challenge, because I'm sure a discerning ear will find differences, but I
Yeah.
kind of dare anybody who listens to the new one to see if they can even find any discrepancies
Yeah.
between the two recordings.
It's pretty close.
There's only one thing I noticed that was different. And I kept it out on purpose so that I would know which one I was listening to. And there's a Jacques, who was one of the original guitar players in the band when we recorded the original. In the very intro, he plays a harmonic of the first
right.
string of E
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
just right before the vocal comes in. It's
Yeah.
almost indiscernible, but
Yeah.
like we were there when he recorded it. And so like you just know, I left that out. The intro's so similar.
Yeah.
I wanted to have like after 5 seconds, be able to know which one
Yeah.
Wow.
was difference. And also when we were A-Bing the new one to the old one mixing wise, when Will was A-Bing, there were so many times, because Darren was there with me for a lot of it.
Yeah.
We're like, which one is this one?
You're kidding. You literally
like,
couldn't tell.
That's incredible.
On like, NS10, studio monitor, like you would hear
Yeah.
certain things obviously like poke out more than the usual stereo. Like, oh, fuck, Will, which one is this?
That is incredible, because I can't even do that 10 minutes back to back with a guitar tone, or like you know, that's really hard to get.
Yeah, it was hard, but it was like totally fulfilling and worth it, and kind of like,
Now, will we do this for the rest of the album? That precision? I don't know.
I'm not sure either. And also the way we sort of after years played some of the other songs, I
They've
feel like
changed,
made them better.
Yeah. But California's so specific. 'cause
California's
it
so
really
specific.
is
And
nostalgia.
that's also the question is, you think they're better, but it's like George Lucas
Arguable.
going back and making the stuff better in Star Wars, and the
Yeah.
fans being pissed off. Do you do what you think is an improvement, or do you stay true to the little quirks that made it cool to the fans in the first place?
Hopefully quirks are there. The songs, as they've been mostly performed, are the same. It's not like we went in and changed chords or
Right.
melody or lyrics or anything. I feel like
There's like
the
two or three
George
are pretty
Lucas thing to like editing that Han didn't shoot first at the
Oh, yeah.
cantina or whatever.
good. Yeah.
Like
what?
That's core.
that's complete like that's changing the lyrics to
Yeah.
the fucking song.
That's-
You
Don't
don't do
do
that.
that.
Right.
That's changing the spirit.
Yeah.
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 Okay, before this becomes a full-blown Star Wars, guys, thank you so much for doing this and for
course.
being here. I love this song and recording so much. I feel like we could talk for 2 more hours about it.
Thank you so much,
Yeah,
guys.
thanks for having us.
We'll see you next time on Dead Wax.
Okay, bye.
Bye.